Hey, what's up? It's Jared with State of Tech. Today we're going to talk about Apple Watches because Apple just refreshed their Apple Watch lineup. I watched the keynote and they dedicated a lot of time to the Apple Watch. I've never heard them talk about the Apple Watch for that long, and it is really an interesting device, and some new things came about this year with the new announcements. If you are like me and wondering whether it's a worthy upgrade or if you should just stick with the Apple Watch that you have, we're going to answer some of those questions in this video. And then, of course, when I get my Apple Watches in, because I did pre-order them and they will be shipping soon, I'll make sure to return and do some comparison videos for you. So a year ago, I did a comparison video between the Apple Watch Series 5 and the Series 3. That's my most popular video by far, and I appreciate all of you who found me through watching that video or have watched that video. But today we're going to talk about the Series 6, the new SE, and then also reference the Series 3, which is still available for sale a few times. So the Series 6 has a few new features over last year's Series 5, but not a lot. So if you are a Series 5 watch holder like me, it may be the year that you decide to skip. But if you have a Series 4 or maybe a Series 3 or have yet to purchase an Apple Watch, then maybe something that has been announced today will be a reason for you to jump in. So with the Series 6, it's an upgrade over last year, improved battery life, a new processor, improvements under the hood, like always. But really the only new thing that's that exciting is the blood oxygen sensor. And we'll talk a little bit about that here in a second. But they did also announce the Apple Watch SE, which is pretty interesting because there's never been a new category of an Apple Watch that is not numbered, like the 6 or the 5 or the 4. And, you know, which versions of those numbered watches are available year to year, that always changes. Last year, it was just the Apple Watch 5 and just the Apple Watch Series 3. Of course, the iPhone SE has been around for a while now, and it's continued to be a popular phone in the budget range that still offers a great Apple experience, good camera, good, experience overall, but at a decent price. And now the Apple Watch SE has entered in as a nice pairing for your iPhone SE. And then, of course, you have the Series 3, which, they've got older iPhones that still are available as well. Like, I think it's the iPhone 8 you can still get. And then, of course, the Series 6 is on the higher end, like the iPhone 11 Pro, the iPad Pro. So they have this trifecta series of products now, just like Wendy's with their single, double, or triple patty. I think it's a good fit for Apple to have kind of 3 lanes for you to be in, depending on features, price, and performance. It's a good move. It's basic economics, but it's a good move. So with the Series 6 and this SE, you have both the GPS cellular and GPS only versions, and then with the Series 3, it only comes in a GPS. Back in the day, it did come in an LTE, and you still can kind of find a Series 3 available for sale still, but not directly from Apple. As far as size goes, these Apple Watches are pretty much all the same size, except for the Series 3. The Series 6 and the SE are 44 millimeter or 40 millimeter. That has been the standard Apple Watch size since the Series 4, and so nothing really to change there. What's interesting is that we still have Retina displays in all these Apple Watches, Retina displays all the way across the board, but with the Series 6 you get the always-on Retina display, which we had in the Apple Watch Series 5. And they advertise it as 30% larger than the Series 3. That's because nothing has really changed since the Apple Watch 4 as far as size goes. The Apple Watch 5 got always-on display, and the Apple Watch 6, of course, is going to get it as well. All 3 watches are water-resistant, swim-proof. You know, they have heart rate notifications, heart rate monitor, low and high notifications, irregular heartbeat, emergency SOS. The only watch that is getting the blood oxygen and has an ECG is the Apple Watch 6. So the SE and the Series 3 do not have those. The Series 5 had the ECG, so the only thing that the Series 6 really has so far over the Series 5 is the blood oxygen app and the blood oxygen sensor. Now, what's interesting about that is that a blood oxygen sensor is not any crazy technology. You can literally buy one of those from Walgreens for next to nothing. They're cheap, not that big of a deal. But having that integrated into your watch and the Apple Health app is kind of interesting, especially with sleep tracking. For me, I think that's interesting because if I'm not getting a good night's sleep, I want to know what disrupted that night's sleep. Of course, the watch has been able to track movement and, maybe some sound, like what was it that disrupted you? But now I can see physiologically how has that disrupted me with my heart rate and also the blood oxygen. This is going to be really interesting for anybody who has a fear of maybe having sleep apnea, or maybe you do have a mild sleep apnea or something like that. You're going to be able to monitor your blood oxygen level in your sleep and look at that and see if there were any dips in your levels throughout the night, which is going to provide just a ton of peace of mind knowing that you can track that, and also early detection across the board. Of course, Apple talked about usefulness in asthma treatment and all of this other stuff that the blood oxygen app is going to be able to do. So with the Series 6 and the SE, you have the international emergency calling, fall detection. They all support family setup, which I'm going to talk about in a second. This is huge. Compass, and an always-on altimeter. So the family setup is really big. Before family setup, you had to have an iPhone to pair an Apple Watch to. And you couldn't pair multiple Apple Watches to an iPhone unless they were your Apple Watches. So if I had my Apple Watch 5 and my Apple Watch 3, and I took off my 5 and put on my 3, the phone would switch to the 3. And then if I switched watches again, it would switch back to the 5. I couldn't give the 3 to my son and let him wear it because the phone wouldn't know what to do. It would think 2 Apple Watches, it would choose which one to prioritize, and there was no cohesive way to use more than one Apple Watch at a time and have it connected to an iPhone. But now with family setup, you can have multiple Apple Watches connected, which means you can give them to your children or an elderly parent or grandparent and have the Apple Watch features available for those other people that you care about. And this is going to be really neat because I have 4 children and those kids go to school, they have activities and all of this stuff, and I haven't yet found a watch that has this type of functionality that I wanted to spend the money on and give to them so that they can have that. And most of the ones that are out there, those watches, they're not really that cool, they don't look that great, and they're lacking a lot of features. So with this, and they all have iPad minis, my kids do, and so with their iPad minis, they'll be able to use iMessage and communicate with the people that I approve. They'll be able to use their Apple Watch and communicate with the people that I approve. They'll be able to call me or my wife. I'll be able to send them messages like on our way, be there in a few minutes, whatever. Which field are you on today for soccer practice? Just stuff like that. And they'll be able to respond and we'll be able to have that communication, which I think is great. And of course, the LTE version or the cellular version of the Apple Watch SE is likely what I will end up getting my kids because that will allow connectivity anywhere. If they are supposed to be at school and they leave school, I'll get a notification that they have left school. They're supposed to be at school during this time. For whatever reason they left, I can then know immediately. And so there's a lot of peace of mind as a parent there as well with having the Apple Watch on one of your kids. And so it brings a lot of functionality and a lot of utility to actually purchasing an Apple Watch and giving it to your kid, especially if you didn't want to have to buy an extra iPhone and give it to them. The Apple Watch couldn't work on an iPad or an iPad mini or on an iPod Touch. So now that you can do this family setup, I can allow my children to have Apple Watches so that I can utilize the connectivity features with them, and they can have an Apple Watch, which is definitely going to be cool for them, and everybody wins in this instance. So that is a huge new thing and a major difference in what you could do with the Apple Watches prior to now, because before, an Apple Watch had to be tied to an iPhone, and that was it. The Apple Watch Series 6 is available in aluminum, stainless steel, and titanium. The SE and the Series 3 are available in 100% recycled aluminum. Of course, the Series 6 comes in a lot of different colors. The SE comes in 3 colors. The Series 3 comes in 2 colors. So I won't go too much further into detail here. Of course, there are under the hood differences between all 3 of these. The Series 6 has the new S6 chip. The SE has last year's Series 5 chip. And then, of course, the Series 3 has the S3 chip that came out when it came out. So lots of interesting things here to be said about these watches, but what it really comes down to is seeing them side by side. I have comparison videos coming soon. As soon as I get my watches in, I will be comparing them. I also have the new watch bands on order, and so I'll have some thoughts to share with all of you about those as well. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and click that bell to turn on notifications so you can be notified. I will put out those videos as soon as possible. Of course, you can also follow us on @StateOfTech on Instagram or on Twitter. We do share occasionally there as well. Nice photos of some of the stuff that we get to play with here in the State of Tech studios. So that's going to do it for today. Make sure to click that subscribe button, and we'll see you back soon to talk more Apple Watch. Take care.